This is Faith Family Cars Podcast. I'm Jerry.
I'm Zach.
Hit the key.
Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will hear you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. That was Jeremiah 29, verses 12 and 13.
Hey guys, welcome back to Faith Family Cars Podcast. We're glad you're here with us today. And as you can see, our backdrop looks a little bit different. So today we've got a special guest on the show, and you may know him because he hates everything Buc-ee's. Now he's back here laughing. You may know him from BuiltShouldaBoughtGarage, or you may know him as possibly Friar Frisbie, if I get that right. Guys, we're happy to have Mark Frisbie on the podcast with us today.
Oh, I was just checking out this piece of garbage because everything I own is garbage. Hi.
Mark, we're glad you're on with us today.
Well, thanks guys for having me.
Well, thank you for letting us come to your humble abode, your shop here. And what exactly did you just climb out of?
Okay, so every car guy should have a Volkswagen at one point in his life.
Volkswagens are cool.
I can agree with that. I'm a big Volkswagen fan.
I'm not.
Okay.
So this is a 1970 Squareback, which is a Type 3. And 2 years ago, Beth and I were sitting in on the couch, and she never looks at cars or pays attention to that. And all of a sudden I'm sitting next to her and I get a Facebook message from her, right? And I pull it up and she goes, and it says, "This is cute." And it was a marketplace ad for this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the next day, without telling her, I drove to Chicago and drove it home.
You drove it home?
Well, yeah, because when I bought it, it was all in one piece.
Okay.
And so I think I completely dismantled it in about 2 hours, and it sat like that for 2 years.
But now you're starting on it.
We are starting on it.
Yeah.
Jamie and I started working on it last week, and I've got the engine rebuilt.
And the engine looks good, by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool
like
little
it,
motor. So, this is Beth's car. She didn't come right out and say it, but it was kind of strongly suggested that I don't get any more projects until her car is done.
Hers is done. Yeah.
So, we're doing that.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like you. I think everybody needs a Volkswagen at some point. Maybe I'll have one day, but Volkswagens are cool. I mean, even just the regular old Beetles are cool when they're done right.
It's an interesting crowd.
It is.
Very diverse,
Yeah.
a little bit interesting. I might be a little bit too conservative for the Volkswagen crowd, but my chair is.
Do you need to?
I think I do,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, maybe that's better.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good. So we got something a little different we want to do, Mark, since we have you here with us today. We're going to play a game.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to try something a little different. This game...
Is this something you Googled, or how'd you come up with this?
No, I just thought of this
Hey, we
idea.
just used our big brains we got here.
Did you read this in a book for like icebreakers?
No.
Okay.
I don't think we need an icebreaker with you.
No, definitely not.
But we thought this would be fun to do with you.
Okay.
So
All right.
we're going to show you a picture of a car part. Okay.
Okay.
And,
I don't speak Ford.
well, this
Actually,
is
a lot of these
mixture.
aren't Ford, I would say.
Well,
Some of them are.
And you're assuming that I have basic car knowledge.
Basic
so
car
you've
knowledge,
already
yes.
failed.
So my middle son, we have a family group chat on, just texting.
Yeah.
And we always, send silly stuff.
Well, we'll send a lot of times it'll be family pictures that we'll send.
So my middle son likes to take a family picture and zoom in on one person's face.
That looks slightly weird, so that he can just expose them to everybody.
Yes.
I like it.
And it's hilarious, okay? And everybody has a good time with it. So we decided that we would take a specific car part and zoom in on it.
All right.
And let you try to figure out what it is.
Okay.
Okay. So everybody on YouTube, you guys can see this picture, okay, while he's trying to figure it out. If you're on any of the other platforms without any video, you can just skip past this, and we'll put a time spot on
so you can just click it.
Yeah, so you can just click it and get to that. All right. So if you don't
So it's
want to listen to
interactive.
this,
Yeah. Well, I actually already played this game when he was printing these pictures out.
yeah,
so
he was trying to figure out what they were.
they should be easy
All right.
enough for you. We'll see.
All right.
So here's the first picture. I'll let you take a look at that.
I can't even think.
We put him on the spot here.
That thing that twists. It's a sensor in the exhaust.
It isn't a sensor in the exhaust. You're real close.
We might just have to give it to him. He's blanking.
I am. I am completely blank.
Starts with an O.
Yeah, it's the O2 sensor.
There you go. All right, so he's got one. All right, 1 point. 1 point for Mark. Look, he's gotten so.
Yeah,
I know, he's getting
I'm
worked
nervous.
up.
Man, I did not think that we could get him nervous.
I'm going to be naked in about 2 more of these.
So this is an LS part. Well,
That's a bolt.
No,
Okay.
that's a bolt.
Oh.
Oh man, I think I forgot what this one was.
This is the one you told me to redo because it was too hard.
Yeah,
Because it was too hard? Okay, so.
Now you had it the right way.
Did it like this?
Yeah, like that.
Are you sure?
See, you got a little curvature here.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a bolt there.
Yeah.
Think about the shape.
Connects to metal.
Connects to metal, plastic to metal.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can't get past thermostat, but it's not.
No, it is.
Is that the thermostat
It's
housing?
the thermostat housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got
You
so
got it,
caught off
buddy.
guard because I've never seen a plastic one. You know, we use
Well,
metal
yeah,
parts on our
okay.
old Fords. So.
So this one might be a little bit harder. But again, you might look at it.
Is that part of the AC compressor?
No, it's not.
No. Wait, what do we have here?
I will say this one was a little bit harder for me too.
Yeah. So that one is that right there is a plug-in. I'll give you that.
That helps nothing.
Well, I mean,
That's a plug-in. Is that part of the throttle body?
it is.
Okay.
You're real close. He's better than he thought he was.
Yeah.
Is it part of the drive-by-wire? No.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I said throttle body. That's as close as it gets.
Well, we can't give you that one.
Okay.
That's
fine.
all right.
It's
That's
a
all right.
TPS sensor.
Oh, TPS sensor. Yeah.
So it is
right.
part of the throttle.
Well, I was late with my TPS reports, so did you get the reference? Office Space.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Let's-
Yeah. All right, this one might be pretty hard. This is off of a Ford. I will tell you that.
Well, it's a sensor of some kind.
No, it is not.
It
a
is
sensor.
not.
Not a sensor.
It's not a sensor.
No.
You should know all about these. You're an LS guy.
So, is it your coil, your injector?
You got it. It's a coil pack.
Okay.
There you go.
He is good.
I know,
So
he
what
just
does he got?
zipped it.
3 out of 4?
I-
Three
I
out
got
of
3.5.
five.
This one might be a little bit harder.
Oh, that's on a Ford too, right?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
Yeah, that's part of your suspension.
Yep.
I don't know if it's front or rear. I'm going to assume it's an old solid axle front. No.
No.
No, it's off something a little bit newer than.
Yeah, it's a little
is
bit
it?
newer.
Yeah.
Independent front.
That's independent front?
Yep.
Okay, well. Yeah, I don't speak Ford.
Man, that one I thought you would get.
Yeah.
Well, I did. I said it was suspension.
Yeah, you did. It's just
Close
an upper
enough.
control arm.
Okay.
That was an easy one.
Yeah, well,
You can see it. Look.
all
All right, if you don't get this last
Yeah,
one.
you got to get this last one.
If you don't get this last one, then you're dead even. There's 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I had 3.5.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
I'll give him the half
So it's-
point.
if you don't get this last one, then all your friends will probably just disown you.
Yeah, you'll be
I
unfollowed.
don't have any friends.
Well, you'll be unfollowed from everything.
Oh, well, okay.
All right, we're gonna
All
give him the
4
last
people.
one.
I'm going to lose all 4 followers.
You guys might. I think you guys are already seeing this.
Oh,
What do you think about that one?
What do you got there?
it looks like a butt cheek.
Yes, it does.
So it's clearly Bucky's.
Bucky's teeth.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well-
So hey, you got 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So we got a little prize for you.
Oh, I win something?
Yeah, you win a prize.
And please say it's not from Bucky's.
You got lucky.
You got lucky.
Okay.
I didn't
It's
wanna-
from Wawa?
We don't
No,
have Wawa
we don't have
yet.
Wawa.
We're getting a
But-
Wawa. We don't have one
Yeah,
yet.
we don't have one yet.
All right.
We have a racetrack.
Oh, you have
Give me a
racetrack. This is
racetrack.
awesome.
Yeah.
With 5 free refills on the
free-
top.
Dude, I dig it.
So, well, we were gonna do We were gonna do Buc-ee's, but
yeah,
I didn't want to drive an hour and a half at 9 o'clock last
I
night
understand.
when we came up with the idea.
So and racetrack was right around the corner.
Right beside the house.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
But we figured we'd get you a nice cup. So
we have racetracks here. So
I looked at that before we got it. And I was like, okay, they got racetracks nearby.
The racetrack's a decent gas station.
It is.
All right, so now all the goofy stuff's out of the way.
No,
we're
it's not.
just getting started, aren't we? Okay, so we are just getting started. So what I'd like to do is just tell us how you got started into hot rodding. That's how I like to really start.
So, and you know, it's going to sound cliche, but my earliest memory truly is sitting on a garage floor. It was a gravel garage floor, actually in the basement of the house. And I don't know, I was 2, 3, but my dad was building a tea bucket. Okay. I mean, truly building it from the ground up. And I remember sitting on the gravel floor, handing him tools, like, you know, like kids like to think they're helping, right? But that really truly is my first memory. And so I grew up in a hot rod family. My dad and my uncle, when they were growing up outside of Louisville, New Albany area, they through high school they paid for their cars by doing custom interior, the old tuck and roll. And you know, I grew up, I had my first 3-wheeler when I was 5. I actually had my first Harley, I think, when I was 7. And now there's a story behind that because, hang on, Harley had this partnership with this Italian company called Mariachi. And they made dirt bikes. And basically it was just an Mariachi dirt bike licensed by Harley. And so I had an Mariachi. Well, so I can like to tell people I had my first Harley when I was 7.
It was a Mariachi.
And so, you know, the first real car I had, Dad and I, it was a 69 GTO convertible.
Nice.
Stupid car for a 16-year-old, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
And we just, I mean, all throughout my life, we were buying and selling cars, fixing them up, selling them. I had Camaros, BMWs, mainly GM stuff, kind of came. Although, you know, we always appreciated the Mustangs, especially the Shelbys and whatnot. But I mean, my whole life was cars, and I got away from it for a little bit in my adult years, and then got back into it, I don't know, 10 years ago, and there's the quick answer.
Yeah, so you've been around it pretty much your whole life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, which is kind of different from me. I was not around it, but I wanted to be around it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was playing Hot Wheels, but I wanted it to be real life.
Sure,
So,
right.
And it just never was.
That's how it was for me up until I guess up until I was 16. There wasn't really a whole lot we did with cars other than, you know, minor repairs. But when I turned 16, we kind of decided to do a project. Well, actually when I turned 14, because that's when I bought my first vehicle. But we decided to do a project right then and there.
And it was small. You know,
it was very small. It was just a little S10. You know, it was rusted out. Ended up getting rid of that very quickly.
And ended up with a C1500, which turned out to be a nice project.
Yep, and that was our first project, I guess, as a shop.
So you guys are going backwards. You started with the Chevy, and now you're into Fords.
We're progressing.
Yeah. It's very progressive.
Oh, I set that up good.
Oh man, that was perfect.
Okay.
We actually talk about it on, I guess, the last episode we recorded. I'm not sure when it'll come out in relation to this, but I was a huge Camaro guy, and if anybody knows me now, I'm the exact opposite. The exact opposite. I'm a huge Mustang guy.
Yeah, right on.
So I know that on your YouTube, like the first project on there that I've seen was the wagon.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think your dad was involved with the wagon.
He was.
So, and you did an LS swap on that.
We did.
So it's kind of got like to me, when I look at it and the white letter tires and stuff, it's kind of like got a NASCAR kind of feel to it in a way. So tell us about that car.
So that was our COVID project.
Okay.
Right. My parents actually lived in Plainfield at the time. They live across the street from us now. You know, Dad was getting older. He's slowing down, but he still wanted something to do, right? Well, it's COVID. Everybody's stuck. I mean, and like I said, they're older, and so they felt like they were really stuck at home.
Exactly.
And of course, we know now that was all silly. But the way that happened is we had gone on we called it the COVID cruise. A bunch of people from central Indiana got together when you weren't supposed to be going out anywhere, and we did an all-day cruise, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And there were 2 older 67 wagons, Chevy wagons, on that cruise. So a couple months later, it's my 50th birthday, and Beth throws this surprise birthday party for me over at my buddy's shop, Rusty, and she invited pretty much everybody that had been on that cruise and some other folks, and those 2 station wagons are there. And my dad just was like drawn to them.
Yeah.
Okay, he was stuck on them. And so then you fast forward a little bit more, and the lockdowns are really starting to happen, and Dad hits me up and he said, hey, I'm bored, let's do a project.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm game. Because the only thing I'd been working on at all was my truck up to that point, and I really hadn't done much to it. And he goes, you know, are there any wagons? I said, well, yes, I do. So a buddy up north had found that station wagon in a storage unit.
Okay.
It was one of those deals, you know, like Storage Wars.
Yeah.
You've seen that?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, he bought 2 units, right? And in one of the units was that station wagon and this really weird, like, Renault.
Okay.
Little Renault.
Yep.
And come to find out, this Renault, the car itself wasn't so unique, but the engine that was in it was super unique. He ended up parting it out and making all of his money back just from selling the engine.
Oh, man, that's cool.
Well, this wagon, it had rust on it. It was rough, and they were going to turn it into a derby car.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I called him. I'm like, hey, listen, what are you doing with that wagon? He's like, I don't know. He's like, we're still thinking derby. I'm like, how much you want for it? $600. I'm like, okay. And so
running and driving.
No,
It was not.
no. We didn't know what was going on with it, right? So Rusty and I rented a U-Haul trailer. Rusty's my buddy that, I mean, you've seen him on my Instagram and YouTubes. We rented a U-Haul trailer. And by the way, if you're going to rent a U-Haul trailer, never tell them what you were actually pulling.
Yeah, we've rented plenty of those.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know. Now, a safe bet is to always say a 72 Nova.
Yeah.
They're not going to ask any questions.
Okay.
So that day, we were pulling home a 72 Nova. Anyway, we went up. There's a great shot of us loading this thing up because it had no brakes. We got it back home, and it was born with that goofy 307.
Yeah.
The Oldsmobile had.
Yeah.
And
That was in my first Regal.
okay, so you know about it.
Yeah. Junk.
Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage motor.
Yes.
Well, we were thinking budget build, so we initially were going to try and rebuild this motor. Well, we pulled the oil pan off, and let's just say the rods. I mean, it was bad. And so Rusty had been wanting to do an LS swap, and Dad said, if you can find a cheap one, I mean, and Dad was footing the bill on a lot of this.
Yeah.
Okay, he's like, if you can find a cheap one, well, we didn't know anything about LS's yet because we were just getting into it.
Yeah.
We paid too much for a junkyard motor out of Terre Haute, I think, and the guy delivered it. And we did not rebuild it. We just pulled the heads, cleaned them. I mean, pulled the heads, cleaned them up, slapped a cam in, and I think it was a BTR Stage 2. I don't even remember. And used HP tuners on it. But completely gutted it, and there was rust everywhere. The floorboards were gone. And I hadn't welded anything since high school, right? And it was not pretty.
Yeah. Well, so exterior wise though, in pictures and videos, it didn't look that bad.
There was one rust spot over the driver's side rear wheel well where it was but it's not bad. And you know, we just wanted something we could beat on anyway, right? And so we slapped it together. Dad did he redid the entire upholstery, and it was nice.
Yeah.
It was comfy. And then we got to the point where we were driving it, and all of the temporary fixes that we were going to go back and fix later.
Yeah.
Rusty has a way of saying that a temporary fix is the most permanent thing you'll ever do. And we live that out.
Yeah.
So, but we cruised that thing. It went on 2 power tours.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it went on 2 power tours. We had a lot of fun in that wagon. It's down in southern Indiana now. We actually sold it to kind of fund the Blavette project, and some have to die so others can live.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, no, the wagon was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, which you just mentioned the Blavette.
Yeah.
So let's move into that, because I want to save. I know that's not the order of how things went.
Oh, that's fine.
But I think that with your
we're just
truck,
gonna skip my truck, right? Because that nobody pays attention to my truck anymore.
Well, I think your truck has a good story.
Okay.
So we're going to save your truck.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's move to the Blavette.
Okay.
So the Blavette is extremely unique, and if you guys haven't seen it online or know what it is, we're going to let Mark explain it, but it is very unique, and when you see it for the first time, you're going to probably do what everybody else does and say, oh, they LS swapped a Blazer.
So I'm going to be honest, I don't know how they only say that.
I don't either, because I never thought that.
If you look at the stance of it, that is not a K5 Blazer
because people don't pay attention.
That's right, they don't pay attention.
Well, the first thing I noticed was the stance of it, and I was like, okay, there's no way.
Yes.
There's no way it's a
tell
K5.
us what's going on with it.
So, I mean, do you want the whole story on it?
Well, you can give us a kind of condensed version, maybe.
You figured out that I have a hard time with that.
Yes.
Okay. But no, actually, I got to back up a little bit, because God is involved in a lot of our projects, which is, I mean, we know He's involved in everything, but sometimes it's very obvious.
Yes. Yep.
So this actually is my stepdaughter Jamie's car.
Yep.
Okay, and we built it for her to road course in autocross, and Jamie and I did not have the best relationship for a long time. Some of it my fault, which we'll get into in a minute, but we were like this for quite a while.
Which Jamie is your stepdaughter.
Right. And she's a kindergarten teacher, and her mom and I, Beth and I, we've been together 13 years, married 5. We kind of rushed into things.
I can tell.
So we're walking out of church one day, and the reason I say God's involved in this is because when somebody asked me this story, I always started out this way. We were walking out of church one day, right?
Yeah.
Because, and what the audience at home doesn't know is that, we were having this conversation inside about, how our Christianity kind of leaks out, if you will.
Yeah.
And you can wave a flag, or you can just be subtly let it out.
Yeah.
And I always start the conversation with, we're walking out of church one day, because that gets people's attention.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened. We're walking out of church one day, and Jamie looks at me, and she said, I want to learn how to ride a motorcycle. Okay, for the first time in 11 years, we have found common ground, right? I was in another life. I was an A-Bait instructor. I can do this. So I helped her find a bike that she paid for. She learned how to ride it in this yard. And she went on and got her endorsement. She went through the class, did the whole thing.
Yep.
But during that process, we're starting to bond a little bit. Okay, and one day in the middle of when I say the middle, the end, she doesn't ride it much anymore because this has kind of taken over everything.
Yeah.
But one day I had signed up to run my truck in an SCCA event, and I said to Beth and Jamie, I said, why don't you guys come up? So they came up, and we get there, and I hand Jamie a helmet, and I said, you're driving.
Okay. Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And boom.
You're just going to throw her into it.
She's hooked.
Yeah.
She is absolutely hooked. She did awful. I think I think
that's how you start.
I think she ran over about 30 children cones. But she had a blast, and in second run she did much better. And so the next week after church, we're at lunch, and she's asking me about this. She's like, "Can I get into this?" I'm like, "Yeah." We started talking about Lindsay. Why can't I think of Lindsay's last name right now? She grew up in Alsip. It'll come to me in a second. Anyway, she's a racer, drag race, and she got into it later in life. She's a dental hygienist, even though she grew up in a racing family. So we used her as an example, and she's like, okay, I want to do this. I'm like, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I said, but you need your own car because you're not driving my truck.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a joke in that too. So anyway, she's like, okay, well, let's do this. And I'm thinking, like a 3rd gen Camaro, something like that. I'm thinking that's what she's going to want to go for. And so we kind of talked about it a little bit, and she pipes up and she goes, it's got to be a truck. At a girl.
There you go.
Right?
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking S10 now.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm doing research, marketplace, all this stuff. Well, I'm pretty good buddies with the guys at Treadwear, and they are the body swap kings.
Yeah.
They make the glue-on raised white lettering that was on the wagon that you mentioned. Okay. And so if you want to see some cool body swaps, you get on their YouTube. They're amazing. Well, Michael, they're 2 cousins that make up Treadwear. Michael and his wife were visiting Brown County, Indiana. And he hit me up and he's like, hey, how close are you? It's an hour. So we met them down there for dinner. Jamie went with us, and we're talking about her getting involved.
Yeah.
And so I'm throwing an S10 at him. I'm like, hey, what do you think about an S10 on a C4 frame, Corvette frame?
Yeah.
Because I knew some buddies, the Spider Garage guys had a C4 they were putting a Mons on. And Michael goes, no. He's like, the C10's wheelbase is wrong. It's too narrow. And then he looks up and he goes, a full-size K5 Blazer and a C5, there's only 2-inch difference in wheelbase.
That's crazy. Why would he know that?
Well, he's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael is a genius.
Because I would have been like you. I would have been thinking S10.
Yeah.
Would be the fit.
Right. And he's like, yeah, they're only 2 inches. And so then he gets online and he's looking on something on his phone. He's like, yeah, they're 2 inches. And
that is crazy.
But that's just how his mind works. It's constant. Well, Jamie's with us.
Yeah.
So she hears Corvette, right?
Yeah.
And so boom, the plan is born. And if you look on the sticker, which I don't know if you can show your audience a sticker.
Yeah, we'll put a picture up.
Okay. So the sticker, this bottom part of the sticker, this is what he sends me one day, and it's the Corvette superimposed with a Blazer. And up here it's got the wheel dimensions, and you can see they fit pretty well.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
Very well.
And so boom, we are off and running. I got to find a Blazer and I got to find a Corvette. And the deal was I would buy the Corvette and Jamie's responsible for everything else.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way it's worked.
Yeah.
My neighbor across the street is it.
I was just saying that was good.
Oh.
I'm just saying it's good. I think the kids need to also understand the money side of what this costs to do this kind of stuff. So
well, and the thing about Jamie is everybody thinks she's 12. She actually just turned 30.
Well, look, when I met her at LS Fest, I said
she's the same age as me.
Right.
Yeah, I said we met. We met Mark's stepdaughter. She's like 16 years old. Even still, then. And I said, it's cool. She's getting into autocross and stuff. And then I went back and I was watching some of your all's older videos. And I watched a video of her introducing herself. And she said she was a kindergarten teacher. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, I thought she was at least like my age, like 23.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, and yeah, it's hard for me to accept that she's 30 because that means I'm getting really old also.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, you're a lot older than I thought you were.
Yeah. It's because it's healthy living.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Anyway, my neighbor across the street, he's got a square body farm going on back there. And he had an old K5. He's like, dude, you can have it. And I'm like, okay. Well, then I looked at it and I understood why.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a total rust bucket. But I'm thinking we can still make this work because I need to cut out certain things. So we were over there for a couple weeks working on it, and I mean, it was such a mess. Well, then Jamie sends me a marketplace ad, and there's another Blazer, like not even a half mile from here, sitting out in a field, $500. We brought it home, and it was a lot more solid.
Yeah.
Now it was still garbage, but it was rusted out in all the right spots.
Yeah, it was better for what you needed it to be.
Exactly. So we start cutting, right? And if you look over here in this tree, and you see that chain fall?
Yep.
Okay. We pulled the body off the frame with that chain fall.
Yeah.
Wow.
And because it was a 4-wheel drive Blazer, yanked it out. I gave away the chassis basically, and we just start cutting. Well, I still don't have a Corvette. So then Michael, it was funny because Michael's in Alabama Michael Hunt from Treadwear. And I see that I'm on Facebook Marketplace looking, right, for a Corvette. And I see that I have a message from Michael, but I don't click on it because I see a Corvette that I like, right? And so I sent it to Michael with, hey, look at this. Well, then I open up his mail, and he's saying, hey, look at this. It's the same Corvette, right?
Nice.
And it's a Rex C5, and I think it was out of Rome, Georgia.
Okay.
But anyway, so I call on it. Price is right on it, and it's this old boy, and he's like, he don't know what he's got, right? Well, he does, but he doesn't. And I mean, he kept talking about, well, I'm old. I'm 65. I'm thinking, brother, you ain't dead,
exactly.
right? You're not old. And well, here's the deal. Motor had been built. He buys this. He goes out. Second night he's had it, and he wrecks it.
Oh, wow.
Spins out, hits a culvert, boogers it up. No insurance.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we got it cheap. And so I holler at Tim, and I'm like, Tim, can I wire you some money? Can you go buy this for me? Because Tim is in Noonan, Georgia. Tim Davis, Sally's Speed Shop. He's in Noonan, Georgia. And so Tim drives over the next day and buys it and brings it back. Well, we could tell it was tweaked a little bit in the rear because when he hit that culvert, he smacked it. So Tim has it in Georgia. We are cutting it apart here. We load it up on the trailer, head for Georgia with the laser body. Okay. We meet Tim in Noonan, spend the night at his place. The next day, we head to Alabama, where Treadwear is. Okay, and we did the initial coupling marriage at Treadwear. Okay. Cool. These guys know what they're doing, right? And so we had cut out a lot of what we thought needed to go. They did some more cutting, and we did measuring and blah, blah, blah. And we welded it to where we thought it was going to sit, and we brought it home. We're messing with it. I'm trying to give you the Reader's Digest version. I know it doesn't sound like it. But long story short, we had the body on and off of it about 4 more times. With that chain fall in that tree. Okay.
Man. That tree's been through it.
It has, and I'm just waiting on. I mean, parts of it have already fallen off, but
you're waiting on that big branch to go.
Right. So we get it all together, and we think we're in the final position because what we did is we built a tube frame inside where we connected it to the Corvette body because the Blazer is wider. It is wider. So I've got about 2 inches on each side. And we had to join those, and so there's framing in there. And then the other part of it is the wheelbase being 2 inches off, the wheels did not look right in the rear wheel well. So what we did is we cut the well out and we moved it forward and zapped it back into place. Well, when we got it back into place, you're looking at the passenger side and you can see the wheel's not sitting the way it's supposed to. So we had guys over here, 2 of my buddies with a damage dozer, which is like a portable frame straightener. We fought it. All we were doing was boogering up the frame more. The problem is finding somebody that has an old school frame table that will actually work on it. Right? Because cars have become so disposable these days. Frame straightening is no longer a thing. And all the reputable shops have sold, and I'm not saying, I mean, the big shops, they've all sold their frame tables.
They're all doing insurance work, and they're totaled.
They're totaling it, and if they can't cut it off and throw it back on, then they're not doing it. Well, we finally found a guy, and he really only had it for a few weeks. Our original goal was to take it on Power Tour. That didn't happen, came and went, which is fine because it allowed us to slow down and take our time. But we did get it to LS Fest where you guys saw it. That was kind of the debut. But the great thing about it is, a year and a half ago, Jamie didn't even know what a screwdriver was. And she welded over half that.
Nice. Cool. That's
cool. What's interesting is we've kind of done it backwards. Now that she's built her project car, now she's learning about engines. Right? It's usually the other way around. You start with the engine, work your way up. We've done it completely backwards.
I will say, I think one of the best ways to get into it, though, is just doing it. Just get into it, just do it, and then you can kind of learn as you go.
Absolutely amen to that. Because, my favorite thing to say is none of us know what we're doing until we do it.
That's right.
Right? I mean, there's no there's no playbook for how you swap a Blazer onto a Corvette.
I mean, because that's like what, one in how many?
Yeah,
barely any at all, maybe.
Apparently, there's another one somewhere out east. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's the first one I've ever saw.
Yeah,
and I did have the help of Michael and Lee from Treadwear, and I had a lot of buddies. Yeah, that saying, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I like to say that it takes a village to build a project, and I have a whole bunch of village idiots to help me. Okay.
But you've got those people that are there to help, that have experience in different skill sets.
Oh, yeah.
And then in turn, you've got their back when they need it.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, case in point last night, Matt, who you guys met earlier today, he helped trying to straighten that frame. And last night I was there running fuel lines. I feel bad for his customer. We don't know what's going to happen with that truck when it goes down the road. But, and that's the neat thing about the car community, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got friends in just about every state in the country.
Yeah, all over the place.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can always, and a lot of it is through some of our Christian groups, right?
Yeah.
I remember not too long ago, I was sitting in here, and the phone rings at like 10:30 at night, and it's this dude, I'm not kidding you, this guy from North Dakota, who I knew through a Christian group, who is in Dallas. He's outside of Dallas, and he's broke down. And he's like, do you know anybody that can help me?
Thinking you might know somebody in that area.
And I did. 10 minutes from where he was broke down.
Cool.
Right? And they ran over. Yeah. They ran over and got him going again.
Yeah.
But that's
cool.
our world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It really is. Because we talk to people mainly all over the southern states.
Sure.
For us, all over the southern region, and it's pretty awesome to know that no matter what state you're in, that there's going to be somebody there that you've talked to on Instagram or through your YouTube or whatever that will have your back in an instant, even if they don't even know you that well.
Right.
Yeah.
They just kind of know you from your social media.
Sure.
Yep.
They want to help out because that's what car guys do.
Yeah, it reminds me of that meme where your wife asks you if you know the person's name.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what car they drive, though.
Right.
and don't make it weird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so you were talking about just jumping in, and that's kind of what I did with my first project. Is it had 306 in it, and I wanted a 302, to go into this truck. And so I had a 302 that I had already started building for a Fox body Mustang.
Okay.
And of course, I'm a truck guy, so automatically the truck took priority over the
of course,
Mustang.
as it should.
I sold the Mustang,
Very
kept
sad.
the motor.
I wanted that Mustang so
Yeah.
bad.
I kept the
was
motor,
nice.
and I finished building that motor, but I've never rebuilt a motor before. And I rebuilt the motor, put about 1,000 miles on it, and I made mistakes. Okay. So I learned from those mistakes because I ruined a cam by not running zinc in my oil.
The thing that sucked is the mistake happened while I was driving. So when I blew the truck up, I was taking it to work because I started a new job and I was taking my toolbox there, and his truck was low. So I was like, I'll just put my toolbox in the low truck.
And I hope you still remind him.
It started ticking, man.
I felt really bad,
Well,
honestly.
it started ticking real bad. So I called him. I was like, Dad, I think your truck blew up.
Yeah. At first, I was like, what was he doing with this thing?
Yeah.
He was hot rodding it. I know he was, And
The
then
thing was, in all reality, I had a toolbox in the back full of tools, and I was driving very carefully.
Yes.
I wasn't even on the interstate. I was taking back roads to get to work.
So I learned from that, hey, conventional oil nowadays doesn't have zinc in it.
Yep.
So you can't just use your 10W30 or 10W40 Pennzoil that you used growing up.
Right.
Now
learning
you got to
experience,
find,
though.
yes. So that motor is no longer existent. It kind of burned up.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
We still haven't told that story on the
No,
podcast.
we
We got to
haven't.
talk about that at some point.
But then I said, okay, so what motor do I have that I've already got that I don't have to go find a core?
Sure.
And that was the 306. So we decided to rebuild a 306, and now I can say right now we've got probably about 4,000 miles on the truck on that motor, and it runs great.
Hard
no
miles
issues.
too.
Yeah, they've
long
been pretty
trips,
hard.
aggressive driving. I mean,
Yeah, and so I'm like, the first time I just jumped in. I watched a lot of YouTube, and I figured out how to do it. I had the knowledge, book knowledge from school,
Right, sure.
but I'd never applied it.
Sure.
yeah.
And so being able to apply it and actually doing it, jumping right in, guys, is the only way to do it. You just got to jump in there.
You just got to do it.
You can't be scared, and you can't be afraid of losing the money you just spent.
Well, because you're not going to get your money back out of
Wait
a
a minute,
car.
why are we even having that?
Hey,
We're moving past this part of the conversation. My wife is going to watch this, so
You always get the money out when you invest into a car. If you invest $10,000, you'll get $11,000 out of it.
right. All right, guys, you just finished listening to part 1 of the BuiltShouldaBoughtGarage Mark Frisbie episode. This is a pretty lengthy episode.
Yeah, so. Believe it or not, we actually talked to him for like 2 hours before we even started recording.
Yeah, but if you know Mark at all, you know he's a talker. And
we talked to him for like a couple hours before, a couple hours during the interview, and then a couple hours after.
Yeah, so we had a really good time with Mark. So there is part 2 coming up, guys, and it'll be same time, same place next week. So tune into that, and we hope you really enjoyed it. If you enjoyed that, you're really going to enjoy part 2, because part 2, he gets into his story, and you don't want to miss that.
Yep, it's kind of like a movie, honestly. He's got a movie-esque story.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
But anyway, tune back in next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, leave us constructive criticism. We're always open for ideas to make this better. And just tune in next week.
All right, we'll see you guys. We love you. Thank you. We'll see you next week.